Hello again, boys and girls. Welcome back to the player podium. These are the rules for those of you who are new or have forgotten. Up to 3 players per team are awarded points based on individual performance, with the first best receiving 3 points, second best receiving 2, and third best receiving 1 point. If a team has less than 3 outstanding players, their best performing player may receive less than 3 points, with players accumulating points every week and being placed upon a leaderboard, with each week one player being awarded Player of the Week. These are our point scorers from last week. The notable figure being Max Dowman, obviously, but I do not believe he won Player of the Week. It was Bruno Fernandes in the end. And if we scroll all the way across, he's catching up now to Erling Haaland, who's been slowing down quite a lot in recent weeks. With Semenyo's great season, putting him on 32 points as well. Chasing Pack's got players like Ekitike, Bowen, Pedro, right, all of these players have had good seasons. And yeah, they are. I mean, this is the very good season mark. I think if you're upwards of, I don't know, here onwards maybe. These are the players that have had pretty good seasons, and then there's players who have shone here or there. We're going to start with Bournemouth 2, United 2, and United do tend to struggle against Bournemouth, and this game was no different. It was a pretty slow first half. I think in the end, the penalty being the goal that got the game really underway, and United really should have had another one, to be honest. I find it mad how you give the Maguire one and you give the Jimenez one, give those as penalties, but then not the one on Ahmad. That just seems strange to me. It like the ref had a pretty good view. VAR should have got involved, surely. I mean that's literally the point of it being there. If you're not going to use it, we might as well just fuck it off. But yeah, I mean it is a better point for Bournemouth, much better than it is for United. United needed to really win the game to keep on progressing. I mean a draw against Bournemouth isn't a bad result, but they needed a bit more of that. We won as well, so we've closed the gap up a little bit. I mean, I guess the poor results for the other teams mean that it doesn't really matter in the end. They can afford to drop points. They've been really good since Carrick's come in, so it's not as if they're particularly missing out on much. Bournemouth, I mean, in the race for Europe, every point is massive. They've been up in the race and they've been down in the lower mid-table at times. And I mean, the league's so interchangeable at that point. At that point in the table, that they need to take advantage of everything they can get. I mean, silly foul on Cunha for the penalty and should have done, yeah, a silly foul on Ahmad, which wasn't given, but they got away with one. They really did. The performance wasn't too bad. I think they did have a few opportunities here or there in the game, both teams. Well, I think almost Bournemouth more than United at times, but yeah, I mean, neither team could really get it over the line in the end. Cunha did well on the penalty, and his overall play off that left was pretty good. It's been a while since he's been on the list. I think other players have shone around him. Players like Bruno, obviously, and Buemo Sesko, them lot have had more of the limelight of recent times. But yeah, Cunha's been under the radar, playing pretty well under Carrick, and this game he won the penalties. Great cutting from the left side, which is I think what they're looking to do with him. If you can get him onto that right foot, get him having a few opportunities, he's a good goal scorer. So yeah, I think that's the way they can exploit him the best. But yeah, it is Bruno Fernandes with 2 points again, just the outstanding player for Man United. Scored his penalty because you'd expect him to do that. Obviously, he hasn't had his best of luck this season with penalties, but yeah, he played a really nice ball for Ahmad before he got dragged down. There was an assist potential in there. I think he played the ball in for Hill to get the own goal. I believe that happened. So yeah, massive contributions once again from a Fernandes perspective. Ryan Christie got the goal that I believe made it 1-0. Was it 1-0 or was it 1-1? I think it was 1-1. Yeah, it was 1-1 because yeah, it was 1-1. I remember now. Yeah, he made it 1-1. Big performance from him in the captain position. He's fallen out of favour a little bit with. I think Scott has taken the reins there. Um, with injuries, I think he's not part of their best team. He had a decent start to the season, but yeah, he started to drop off with Bournemouth's drop off. But yeah, it's a good goal for him. Get himself back in the swing of things. It's Tavernier again with 2 points. He's probably been one of Bournemouth's best players this season. Everything flowed through him. Um, yeah, he in the middle of that three, he does really well because there's the freedom to kind of move as and when he pleases. He gets the ability to dictate the attacking play from within the heart of it. He can drift left, he can drift right, or he can push up to be a second striker. He can do it literally whatever he wants, and I think he's really suits that role. Yeah, for me, this is poor from a Liverpool perspective. It wasn't even as if they looked like they should have won but didn't. It was for me, it was a fairly balanced game in terms of chances. They did have their fair share, but Brighton also did go at the other end and have their fair share. Poor mistake for the first goal. And in light of Salah's news that he's leaving, I think this could be a bit of a dampener for Liverpool, really. And I mean, Honestly, I'm pretty delighted at it. Like, I don't see Liverpool continuing in any kind of good vein of form. So for a Villa perspective, it's great. But yeah, it's such a missed opportunity for like Liverpool and Chelsea. Like, we haven't been good. Liverpool haven't been good and Chelsea haven't been good. So when every other team slipped up, no other team has taken the mantle and really shown a desire to push on and push up into those places, which is it's 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 just the quality of this battle going on at the moment for Champions League football is low. I can see Chelsea even slipping out of it at times. I can see Liverpool falling down potentially as well. So yeah, it's going to be interesting end of the season. I see teams like Everton in form; they could be pushing up, and Brighton as well. Another win for them. I think it's three. Is it 4 and 5 or 3 and 4? They had a few lower quality teams that beat teams like Forest, but a win at home against Liverpool is a massive statement, despite the form that they've been in. And yeah, and you can't say they didn't deserve it. I mean, even though it was a fairly balanced game, I mean, Liverpool didn't look like they were going to go on and win the game. Brighton did well to hold them out in that aspect. Minter's on the sheet again this week. I think the link up between him and Welbeck was something that went under the radar a little bit at the start of the season. I think I focused in particular on both players as an entity, but they looked together like they were really bouncing off each other in this game. Minter had a chance that stands out in mind that he missed. It was a good save by Mamardashvili, but that kind of shows the dangerous force that team can be with those two, because Welbeck not necessarily got the legs to be that explosive anymore. Once upon a time, maybe he was, but not necessarily anymore. So the fact that he's able to use his experience, his expertise to really elevate Minter in that sense by creating space for him to pushing him behind, I think really works. And I think that unlocked Minter almost in this game as well. While it wasn't as prolific as he could have been, I think his showing was good nonetheless. Then on the opposite flank, I think Diego Gomez with another really good performance for Brighton. Got the assist for the first goal with a header across the box. Another good movement from him into the box. He's got a really good poaching instinct, so his positioning was fantastic for the goal. Got himself up first and headed it across for Welbeck. But yeah, I mean, this is a really good player. I think he's a very underrated player. Does not get spoken about nearly enough for me. So yeah, that game I think showcased more of his qualities. But the man who is the subject of all the talk after that game, and rightfully so, Danny Welbeck, another prolific clinical performance. I think it's his best goal scoring season in the Premier League, which, I mean, he's just getting better as he gets older, which is pretty funny. But yeah, all the talk's been focused around the World Cup, but I think the important thing is that his instinct in the box is something that Brighton have lacked in his absence. Kostulas hasn't done it for me when he's played there this season. Obviously, he's a young kid; he's got a lot of time to grow, but I think Welbeck's importance in that role cannot go understated. They've been relying on other players on the wings to be scoring the goals at times this season when Welbeck hasn't been in the team. I remember he had a purple patch at the start of the season. I think he won Player of the Week in like game week 8. But yeah, that now he's back in. He looks like he's firing again. And I mean, with the World Cup talk, I don't see it personally. I think ability has to come into play, but ability compared to form has to be a debate that you look favour towards ability, in my opinion. But yeah, I think he's definitely got a shout. He's in contention 100%. Someone who won't be on the plane for England because he's Hungarian is Milos Kerkez. His goal was good. He's kind of in there because he scored, but also because he was somewhat of Liverpool's better attacking outlets. Him and Frimpong, I think, had a fairly balanced performance from the both of them. Even though Kerkez is kind of there because he scored. That's what puts him there above Frimpong. But the fact that Liverpool FC's two best attacking options in the game are their fullbacks really, really shows how poor they've been this season. And Dominic Szoboszlai again with 2 points. I mean, consistently Liverpool's best performing player, I think. Um, he's it's difficult to speak much about Szoboszlai because I think when Liverpool were playing better last season, he wasn't really as big of an influence. But now that Liverpool are worse, he looks a lot better. I don't know if his individual level changes or his level stays the same, but the team running gets worse, so he looks like he's been performing better. It's a weird thought process for me. I'm not sure particularly where I lie on that stance, but while he's performing at this level, Liverpool fans really like. I mean, they have a lot to complain about, but he's been one of their bright sparks all season, and I think he showed it again in that game. I do say it with reserve because of the debate I just mentioned, but I think it would be foolish not to give him credit while it's due. This game for me was kind of obvious. I think I put this exact score on my Super Six and got it right. Fulham 3, Burnley 1. This is a Burnley team with no real fight left in them. I don't think this is a Burnley team that looks tired. It looks leggy, looks dogged, and I just don't see where they. I don't see where they get enough points to even challenge. I mean, I did a table predictor earlier on for a bit of fun, and I had Burnley finishing last, which I mean, say that 4 months ago would be unthinkable. But yeah, it's been an awful season for Burnley. They need to go down and really buck up their ideas, because if they're going to come back up again for the 27-28 season, if they're just going to do this the whole time, eventually your luck runs out. I mean, you've seen it with QPR had a period at Norwich, especially the ones you think of when it comes to that, and they've now settled into Championship mediocrity. So if Burnley aren't careful, that's gonna happen to them. It was a overall good performance from Fulham. They looked to the more threatening team. Burnley again had one or two chances that they did miss, which you think the quality that they showed in the build up doesn't match what they have in the box, which has been a key theme for them all season. Quality in both boxes has not been there, and they really need to freshen up their ideas. I think the opportunities that Burnley demonstrated, where they looked like mildly threatening, Leno was more than matched to them. A few really decent saves that he actually made in that game, which for me highlights not only he's still got the ability as a goalkeeper to do well at this level, but also Burnley just struggling. Um, in a game where Fulham scored 3 goals and looked comfortable, the fact that the keeper was busy enough to warrant points is not often seen, but it shows that Burnley just they are struggling. They really are struggling, and Leno made 4 or 5 pretty solid saves, which I mean they I think they never really looked like they were going to score the goals, but when there's a brief hint, Leno was there, and that's what you need from your keeper, really. Harry Wilson again with a fantastic performance. This guy just keeps going. 16 goal contributions this season, 10 goals, 6 assists, and he's just on an absolute tear. This guy's going to be one to watch out for, I think, in the World Cup if Wales get there. Because these performances this season have been great, and this was no different. He got the opportunity, he got the opening, and it was just a powerful finish that Dubrav could it went under him, couldn't get down in time. That's the Wilson way, man. That left foot is an absolute wand. It's a murder weapon, and you can't give him the time at all to operate on it. Which unfortunately for Burnley they did, and it bit them in the arse. But yeah, Josh King finally scores his first Premier League goal after he thought he had it all those months ago at Chelsea. Slowed down recently, I think. Other players kind of took the mantle and took a bit more game time, but yeah, King looked really solid in that game. I know it's against poor opposition, but at his age, if you're shining, it's a positive in itself. So yeah, another it was a goal. It was an assist in the end as well for Wilson's goal, I believe. And overall, just a very positive showing from a player that's looked pretty good this season. And he got his goal. He made it 1-0, which was impactful in the game. Zian Fleming, possibly too good for Burnley. Got 8 goals this season, which for in a relegated team isn't too bad, really. I could very well see him moving to one of the promoted teams next season, whether that's Middlesbrough, Coventry, Millwall, whoever. Won't be back to Millwall, I don't think. But whoever of the teams that are fighting in and around there, like Ipswich, and that go up, I could fully see him in that promoted battle, because I think in terms of lower level Premier League strikers, I think he's definitely got a place. He's got a place in that list. He's got a place in this league, and the finish that he shows really composed. He had I think one other chance. The service to him in particular wasn't fantastic. I think the other players got the ball in the box a bit more than he did, but less than he should have, really, considering his ability in front of the onion bag. But yeah, another point and another goal for Fleming. This is where I don't see Chelsea doing very well and getting far enough up this season to play Champions League football, but they're such an inconsistent outfit that it's so hard to really predict what they're going to do. Um, I mean, my predict that I did saw Everton in sixth and Chelsea in seventh, which I think is an entirely feasible prospect. I think Everton in the form that they're in, have the ability to overtake Chelsea. They've won Hill Dicky. They've absolutely battered Chelsea. Chelsea were just not involved in the game in the slightest. They had no real like really convincing chances. That's something they've lacked at times this season. They go forward, but they're not threatening. I mean, they've had games where they've been on it and they've been good in front of the goal, and they've looked like they're going to score. Like against Villa is a key one that stands out. And obviously, it stands out in my mind, but yeah, that's something that I pick out in particular as a game where they go forward and they look like they're going to cause issues. But in this game, whenever they went forward, they looked like they lacked conviction in themselves. Which I mean, whenever Everton went forward, they looked like they were going to cause issues. And I mean, they should have scored another when Sanchez fumbled again, but where Beto just about got tackled. But yeah, um, awful work from Chelsea. And Diar's goal was something really special, man. Gets the ball, does his defender, and pinks it into top bins. It just demonstrates the quality that he has as a footballer. And for me, the ability to go up, bollocks. For me, the ability to go on and get a bigger move. I could fully see him at Arsenal. You know, I think as a player for Arsenal on that left wing, I think he'd. My God, what am I doing? I think he'd be a really good outfit. They still do need a left winger, and I think he'd do really well there. I think stuff like that is something that Arsenal lack from that position. I don't know why I'm talking so much about Arsenal when it's about Ndiaye, but yeah, I'll get back onto him, and the value that he has for Everton is just you can't ignore it. Um, with Grealish out, those two will look so good as an outfit on the wings, but he again is cementing himself as that guy now for Everton. And I mean, yeah, like I said a second ago, it's a matter of time before he gets a big move. Someone who has been fantastic this season, amid all the big signings, is James Garner. He's just looked so good every time he steps on that pitch. Whether he plays at right back, whether he plays in midfield, he's a really talented footballer. It's such a shame that England are so stacked in that area that you can't really get much of a look in my opinion. It's something mad that he's like fifth or sixth choice midfielder in that area. You'd have at least, well, Rice, Wharton, and Anderson at the least over him. You could argue for Dewsbury Hall and stuff like that. You could argue for Bellingham and all that stuff. Maybe if he wanted to play deeper, but yeah, Garner again just demonstrating his prowess in that midfield. He anchored really well with Gay. In a box to box role, I think he was fantastic. Yeah, it's 2 points, much deserved for the guy. But player of the week for this week, potentially surprisingly enough, is Beto. You don't see this guy pop up too often, but when he does, it's a massive party. He seems to be fairly liked, I think. Whenever he scores, fans seem to be all over him. The players seem to love it, and yeah, I mean, he got two goals that were really nicely taken. Obviously, the one with Sanchez was definitely partly at fault, at least, but even so, man, if you don't shoot, you don't score, which I say all the time, but it holds weight. So fair play to Guy, and I mean, amidst all the names to have won it, I think he's probably one of the more shock ones for Player of the Week. I have literally nothing to say about this game. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Kelleher has made a few saves when needed. But yeah, there was no one particular shining star for any of these teams. It's not a great point for Leeds, and it's not a great point for Brentford. With the way that this game could have gone, either team could have got at the game, but they didn't. This would have been big for promotion and relegation races, but both teams didn't really go for it. And yeah, I'm not going to waste your time on this. I'm not going to waste my time on this. This is a massive talking point. Spurs Forest. Do you sack Tudor? Yes or no? For me, they have to. I know the options that they're looking at the Hooter geezer. I mean, he didn't film with any confidence. I don't think he'd do any better than Tudor, but that's why I reckon Tudor has to go because you have to try something else. It's not working. It just isn't working. They're gonna keep losing games. They need to appoint someone weird. They need to go for it. I saw a video by Ben Bowman who they said they need a vibes pick, and that's something I completely agree with. Like, even if it's someone like Ryan Mason, if it's a former player and like even someone like Jan Vertonghen, like I don't know if he's still playing football, but if you just brought him in until the end of the season, do like Shearer did for Newcastle, someone that the fans love. Obviously, it's not to the same extent, but they need to try something different because I don't see them improving on the Tudor. I see them getting relegated. Obviously, in that sense, I want them to keep Tudor because I would love to see Spurs go down. It'd be fucking brilliant. But it has to happen. They have to try something new. In a Forest sense, this is a really good win. Obviously they're against probably the weakest opposition at the moment in the league. It's between them or Burnley, but this is a good step for Pereira. The first win will fill him with confidence. They'll get him on the points. It'll be good vibes again in Nottingham. That amidst their success in Europe, this is better signs for Nottingham Forest. I think they're gonna. I think they're gonna stay up because they're not just not as bad as Spurs, and I think they definitely proved it in that game. But yeah, in terms of building blocks for next season, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with them, especially towards the bottom of the table with some of the quality of some of the teams coming up. Nico Williams grabbed 2 assists in that game, and overall his crossing quality was really good. No real defensive problems. I mean, Spurs had like 1 or 2 chances that were threatening. I think Tell had a long shot that hit the bar, and that was all that close as they really got. Sells had to make a save or two, but yeah, from a defensive sense, no real problems. But yeah, the quality of the crossing is where he gets the point in the end. Gibbs White was always going to score against Spurs. He just was gonna. It was going to happen, and he did. It was a really nice finish, really well taken, and overall, it kind of summed up a real miserable afternoon for Spurs. I think in the end. But again, 3 points, Anderson. I mean, this guy scores so many points. He's on the points almost every week, and he just marshalled. Like the difference in quality between him in midfield and Spurs' midfield was like night and day. It was like ridiculous. He is such a talented player. He just single-handedly just dog walked Spurs. They were they weren't even second best. They were third in a two horse race in this particular game, and Anderson himself would just propped Forest up and just made them tick as usual, but to such an extent that Spurs didn't even get a look in. So yeah, big things coming for this guy, I believe. Newcastle Sunderland was a tale of two halves for me. I think Newcastle had a really good first half. They knocked on the door quite a lot, and they caused actually quite a bit of issues for Sunderland, which I mean, the lack of conversion for some of the chances they had is a tale as old as time this season, anyway, for Newcastle. But yeah, they come out of the second half, and it's just a completely different team. I really don't know what happened, but they look so much slower. They look so much more sluggish. They look so much less involved that Sunderland just took the game by the scruff of the neck and completely flipped it on its head. And in the end, they ran out victors. It was weird. I'll be honest, because Newcastle looked so up for it, and then the fight just died. I don't know what happened. Obviously, the second goal they scored, but it was offside. I think it was in a foul as well. So if that stays, that changes the course of the game. But even so, Sunderland were in such the ascendancy. I do believe it would have been 2-2 in the end, maybe even three. I don't know, but yeah, Newcastle are a team that don't feel with any confidence at the moment. This is another season now where they've shown they cannot cope with Champions League football. They had when they were in the groups, the last season of group stages, they had Champions League and they tanked in the league. Last season they didn't have to worry about it, finished fifth and won the cup. This season, Champions League football again, and they're in the mid-table. I think this is an issue that they need to sort out. Whether that means that Howell isn't the right man for the job, I'm not 100% sure. Um, but they need to sort out. I think maybe also the depth of that squad needs some work because if they don't have enough players performing to a high level, then they're showing they can't deal with the pressures of Champions League football. And Sunderland, they're just this is a massive like emotional win in a sense that this will give them so much more hope and fight than any other win. They've got players coming back. They've got Mukiele, Reinildo coming back. That will give them a massive spark. They got Lefay on the bench as well in that game. So with some of the lesser quality, maybe the Championship players they had last season that had to come into the fold, they with those like much better players coming back, maybe this is a chance for them to spring some good form at the end of the season. Anthony Gordon picked up on the chance given to him and did really well with it. Scored his goal and overall was kind of the highlight there for Newcastle in the end. I don't think it was a fantastic performance overall again. But yeah, he scored the goal, and it's another goal for Anthony Gordon, which is good for him. So it's a point. It's been a very long time since Dan Burn was on the points, but he was like the mountain at the back that Newcastle needed. Botman was subbed off, which showed how much he struggled in that game. Um, but Burn was stayed on, and I think Burn was great. He was winning a lot of headers. It was actually crucial in the first half when Newcastle were the better team to keeping them ahead. He made some really important blocks, and for that he gets 2 points. But Lewis Hall with 3 points wasn't my choice for a long time to start for England. I think O'Reilly has overtaken him now, but still goes on the plane for me. And his crossing in that game was great. He found his target a lot. He got around his man quite a lot from right back as well, and well, at right back as well. And in my opinion, he just had an overall great game. He did drop. Obviously, everyone dropped off in the second half. That wasn't just specific to Hall, but yeah, it's annoying from his end and from Newcastle's end that they couldn't maintain that performance. A lot of the reason why Sunderland looked better in the second half was the leadership from Xhaka from the deep, the fight, the grit at 1-0 down to keep on winning the ball and keep on pressing on and keep on creating chances, which is something he's done all season and has done such a good job at it that Sunderland are a mid-table team, or look like a mid-table team. And yeah, this is just a guy that is just leading this team right to the top. Talby with another goal. Very up and down for me this season. Not a player that I particularly have liked that much. However, his performance in that game was good. He was actually creating quite a bit outside of his goal as well. Always looking dangerous in that one. Which is something that in some of his other games where he scored, I've given him points. He hasn't looked great, but this was a good game for Talby. I think he shone in this one, and that's a good sign of things to come maybe for the kid. Brian Bobby has to get 3 points. Just caused such an issue at centre back. Very physical, very prominent, and a player that I really like. Bobby with his goal at the end, he picked out his moment. Needed the composure to make sure that the ball went to the back of the net, and he had it, and it's just given them such a great moment in that club's history that I'm sure he won't be forgotten for a long time. But we end this video on the Villa, and I'm going to sound quite hypocritical when I say that I was really happy, particularly with the performance in that game. I've said, especially regarding Arsenal and quite a few teams this season, that we're at the point in the year now where results matter more than performances. But from my perspective, we haven't looked like the team of when we were on an 11 game like unbeaten streak earlier on in the season. Our performance level had dropped massively, and this game we were playing freely. We were playing exciting football. We looked like our attacking players looked at their best. Again, Rodgers had a good game. Sancho had a really good game. Watkins we'll speak about in a little bit. But yeah, we looked like we had a massive lift in that one, which for me means a lot more actually than the result. I think we could have had a poor showing and beaten West Ham anyway, I'll be honest with you. But partly in the way that West Ham just didn't offer a lot in that game, but also from I think our quality of squad is just better, and that has taken us to wins at times this season, like against Wolves. Um, but the performance was really necessary for me. We're at a crunch time of the season now where we've let ourselves slip back from a title race into scrapping to stay in the Champions League spots. We are well and truly in the Europa League thick of it, and we need to be showing us as the fans that this team has got it in them to compete, and this team, amongst everything that we've struggled with this season, are a team that are going to fight and carry on playing until the final whistle against City in May. For West Ham, we are a good team. I don't think it's the worst loss in the world, but they didn't look great, I'll be honest with you. They struggled to create chances at times in this game, and we looked more than matched to them in defence. I think this was going to be one that they lost out on. They can take solace in the fact that Spurs lost. Spurs are their biggest threat. Well, I say biggest threat. Spurs are the biggest candidates to go down at the moment. I think West Ham are the better team than Spurs at the moment. They just need a little bit more oomph, and then they can walk away from the season having just survived. They can lick their wounds for next season. But yeah, Watkins looked great in that game, man. There's been games where he's played where he scored, like against Newcastle, he scored, but looked awful at times in the game. But this game, he looked really sharp. His movement was great. He was getting on the ball, which I think helped him out because his link-up play was really good with Rodgers and Sancho as well. But yeah, he scored his goal, which is kind of the main thing. Obviously, it's a poacher's finish, but he needs that. He really does. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed that this can build his confidence going into the end of the season. This is a guy that doesn't get enough praise from other fans, partly because of how good Kamara and Tielemans are, but also from our fans as well. A lot of our fans kind of think, oh, he shows up here and there, which is true. He does have off games, but when he's on his day, he is a fantastic midfielder. He can marshal that midfield really, really well. He isn't a finished product yet. He is still inconsistent, which I think Everton fans had in terms of an issue with him. They had that as well. But I think this guy, I think we've got a serious player here. I think if we can harness him, he's still quite young. He's got a long way left. If he can learn off players like Barkley, of players like Kamara and Tielemans, I think we're gonna have a really solid midfielder for the next few years on our hands here when we start to lose those players. But man, how we miss this guy! I just the 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 way he lifts us as a fan base is almost bigger than his impact on the pitch. Like when McGinn's on the pitch, I have so much more hope in the team. I have so much more of like a thought that we're going to succeed when he's on the pitch, because I know that there's that dog there, that guy that's just going to run and is going to put the effort in. When he's not there, when it's Sancho and Buendia sometimes, or Sancho and Bailey, or Buendia and Bailey, like sometimes I think we lack the tenacity, we lack the grit. I know Buendia does work hard, but he lacks the fight that McGinn has, and he offers so much on and off the ball. I mean, in terms of a technical footballer, he's really underrated. He's really good on the ball. He can dribble well. He's fairly agile for a pretty stocky geezer, and he can hit the ball really nicely, which he showed again in that game. And I'm really hopeful now that we've got him back for the rest of the season. Whenever West Ham did get forward, I think Diouf was a bit of a spearhead for that. From left back, his crossing was great. He put the ball in some really dangerous areas, but West Ham just didn't capitalise. He's a really solid little talent, I believe, and in my opinion, I think that his ability is greater than the club, and I think, to be honest, I actually think he could go in the summer. Like, especially if West Ham go down, he won't be there. But if they stay up, I think people will be looking at him, and I think West Ham will need to get a pretty penny for him to make his sale worth it. I don't know what has happened to Mavropanos in the last week, but his performance against us, and especially in the first half, was fantastic. He made some really crucial blocks in that game and some really important challenges to keep West Ham in it. And you start to think, like, this is a guy that has been so mediocre for so long. Where has this actually come from? Like the turnaround in his performance has been like almost magnificent. Like he looks like a completely new guy, and yeah, it's from his end. It's honestly the team done him a disservice because of how good he was. But yeah, for his perspective, it's a shame that the game panned out how it did because he was just so great. But there we are. There's a few gaps in the list this week with Arsenal City not playing the cup, and then Wolves having been previously. The 2-2 I think against Arsenal was part of this game week for those two, so that's where they would start. And Palace and City will have this game at some point, so they'll get double points on a certain week. But if I scroll all the way across, look who's catching up. Bruno Fernandes will fairly quickly, in my opinion, overtake Erling Haaland. If we scroll across here, Minter up into 22 points. And Diai has made 20 points. He has broken the 20-point mark. Anderson up to 24. Harry Wilson's knocking on the door as well. And yeah, if I scroll across, you can see like players like Tavernier. These boys are all moving up into 17 points this week. Gibbs White as well. So yeah, scroll down. These are the players of the week just to remind you. And yeah, thank you very much for watching this episode, boys, and have a good one.